What if your people-pleasing isn't weakness? What if it's masking?
Boys are often, for kids, it's like a 4-to-1 ratio diagnosed, but in adulthood, it's a 1-to-1 ratio. So what does that mean? 3 out of 4 girls are getting missed.
So what happens when people-pleasing collides with neurodivergence?
I think that the masking can have a both sort of a conscious level and unconscious level of masking.
Okay.
Because, I mean, it really does come down to like the desire to...
We unveil the truth about neurodivergence and people-pleasing, why masking sabotages relationships, and the practical tools to break the burnout cycle.
Welcome to Empowering Women in Conversations, podcast to empower and uplift women by providing a safe space for them to share their stories and experiences and encourage the strength, resilience, and power of women. If you are tired of putting others' needs before your own, leading to burnout and resentment, and you are ready to transform and create relationships that are supportive rather than draining, join us on this journey of women overcoming adversities and achieving their true empowerment. Here's your host, a licensed professional counselor, Anita Sandoval.
Welcome back to Empowering Women in Conversations with your host, Anita Sandoval. And today we're exploring how ADHD and autism, especially when they overlap, can shape people-pleasing, masking emotional burnout, and relationship struggles. Understanding how your brain works can be a life-changing step toward living with more peace, clarity, and authenticity. And joining me today is someone I've deeply respected and learned from, Eric Tivers, licensed clinical social worker and founder of the Voice of ADHD reWired since 2014, and a certified clinical service provider of ADHD. Welcome to the show, Eric. I'm so glad to have you here.
Thanks, Anita. Thank you for having me.
So I wanted to share a story with you, and this is why I've been so patient to be able to have you as my guest, and very, very blessed. So a couple of weeks ago, I think it was Veterans Day or something like that, a friend of mine for years, she had a child that she's taking care of, her grandchild. And I remember when she was little, I told her, hey, I think she may be neurodivergent. And she's like, no. Well, come back many years later, she's now in high school, and she goes, my friend, thank you so much for telling me. Because, she goes, I did get her tested. She's got a psychiatrist. She's got, a counselor. And she's ADHD and autistic. And I go, oh, you mean she's AuDHD? She's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, well, when they overlap, it's called AuDHD. And she had no clue what that meant. And right away, I sent her to your podcast. I sent her to mine, let her know a little bit. And of course, strategies that she can do in the school. And when I mentioned, hey, let's look at those two characteristics and see how they overlap. And that's a discussion you can have with the psychiatrist and the psychologist and or counselor. So, if this is new for her, it's probably new for our listeners here.
For sure.
So, let's break this down. What is AuDHD and how is it different from just ADHD or autism alone?
Sure. So let's maybe first actually look at what ADHD is and autism. And then, so with ADHD, we're looking at basically a cluster of symptoms. One is with hyperactivity and impulsivity, and there's 9 features listed in the DSM of that. There's also 9 features of inattentive presentation of ADHD. And one of the confusing things about the name ADHD is you don't have to actually be hyperactive to have ADHD.
Yep.
And people say, well, isn't that just ADD? I'm like, well, it used to be, but like clinically, with the way that, the most updated thing is ADHD inattentive presentation, or ADHD, hyperactive impulsive presentation, or like most people with ADHD, combined type, where you have, for kids, you need to have 6 out of these 9 of either of those categories. For adults, it's 5 out of 9 because it is a developmental delay. And so, which makes sense. So as we are continuing to develop, like it would make sense that there would not be as many of those features.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's been arguments that would suggest that even for adults that 4 out of 9 would be fair. So you need to also there needs to be symptoms present at some point in childhood. It used to be this arbitrary age of 7, then they changed it to 12. And it's basically the thinking is like, at some point during like by adolescence, like you should notice some of these symptoms.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They need to be happening for at least 6 months and occur in multiple contexts. So it's not just in one environment. Right. And for some people, for some kids anyways, they might get missed if they're one of these like sort of neurodivergent unicorns who like school. Right. Because for people who like school, it's like it's not going to show up as much because they actually are interested in it. Because what do we know about, especially with ADHD? It is, we have an interest-based nervous system. So it's like, it's not just that we can't pay attention, it's that it's hard to pay attention when we're not interested. But when we are interested, whoa, we can pay all the attention that we need to.
Yes, just dialing it down and turning it off, that's the problem.
Right. It's about self-regulation, right?
Yeah, definitely. I love how you said that. I literally had this conversation last week. I went to have breakfast with my girlfriend and she goes, oh my gosh, my daughter's ADD. I think she's now turned 19. I go, what do you mean? You mean ADHD? And she goes, no, ADD. I go, well, technically that doesn't exist anymore. It's ADHD and attentive type. And she goes, oh, and she starts crying like, how did I not get this as a mother? And, she's punishing herself. And, do you know any statistics on mothers and picking up on these things?
Well, we know as far as like statistics that somewhere between 3 to 7, upwards of 9% of population, have ADHD. Most are not actually diagnosed though, but we do know through population studies that we also know it's highly genetic. I'm pretty sure I got mine from my dad. And yeah, I mean, it's in so many kids end up adults learn about their ADHD when their kids get diagnosed. And often the story goes, well, I was filling out these rating forms for my kid and I was, filling these out and I keep thinking, wait a minute, this is describing me. Right. And it's, so like when I used to actually do evaluation for ADHD when I worked with kids and families. I actually now just work with adults. But when I had a kid come in and working with me, because my primary focus was actually working with the parents.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And I kind of went with the assumption, all right, which parent is it versus do they? Right. Because
yes,
it typically is. It typically is one of the parents. Right. So yeah. So it's and boys are often as for kids are diagnosed. It's like a 4-to-1 ratio diagnosed, but in adulthood, it's a 1-to-1 ratio. So what does that mean? 3 out of 4 girls are getting missed.
Oh my God. Yes. I got missed because I'm that unicorn. I loved school. It was my way away from home because my home environment was so broken that for me, I remember my first like endearing moment was my first grade teacher. She would give me, when it was allowed, candy whenever I would do good. So I was like, oh my gosh, what? I get a reward? And I wasn't given that growing up. So right away, I was just picking up, being GT and learning and picking up on patterns. And I just loved like reading books, learning. And well, my mom was not fully mentally healthy there. So it's not like she could pick up, oh, you're ADHD. And I just knew how things worked. And I recently got diagnosed back in November, like formally. And I even told my friend, I was first married when I was 15. And it was a kid having a kid, and I had my 2 children who now I go back and realize they're neurodivergent. One wasn't diagnosed till high school, but people just throw the label out. Oh, you're ADD. Oh, you're ADHD. It's just, you can't focus. That's it.
Right.
That I'm culpable of that. And now as a grown adult, now that my brain's more matured and everything, I'm becoming a service provider in ADHD. I now know, okay, we got to do this. We got to do that. And I told my friend, like, even I feel this criticism within myself. Like, how did you not know? Because here in the Rio Grande Valley, they don't just tell us. They're just like, oh yeah, ADHD. And I don't know. It's like we need to put the word out. It's not just ADHD. It's a real disability.
Right. And there was the longitudinal lifespan study that came out a few years ago that showed that ADHD is one of the biggest factors in decreasing life expectancy. And Russell Barkley, who's a prominent researcher in this field, has been really advocating for this. And we had a conversation, him and I, on my podcast a while back, and I said to him, like, I think that the headline got buried in this study, and which is a good news headline. And because what I said, the outlier for this is if you can increase people's conscientiousness, right? All those other risk factors decrease significantly, right? And we know that people with ADHD tend to, like, on autopilot, aren't the most conscientious people, but that is something that can be learned, right? Those are things that you can actually do, because we know that whether it's risk-taking behavior or not going to your medical appointments or engaging in more, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, right? It's anything that is sort of highly stimulating is going to be attractive for people with ADHD, which is why I see a lot of people who are first responders or a lot of entrepreneurs, because it's like, it's exciting to have to figure stuff out and kind of figuring it out your own way. And, but when we understand like what drives us, right? I always say that our tendencies are really important to know and don't have to be the way we go.
I love how you said that. It's just knowing your tendencies, being compassionate with it and working with it. And for me, that's what made me go to the doctor and go, oh no, like I can't have this. I can't die in a car accident and put my kids on risk without a mom. And once I heard Dr. Barkley discuss that, and I was in so many accidents before the age of 25. And then my father died in a car accident before I turned 3. That's when everything started after that. With my mom, she was just too broken. She was in the accident, saw him die. And so, she had her own PTSD that's unresolved. And so for me, I was like, oh no, I'm not repeating this cycle. And thanks to Vyvanse, I get to drive because I remembered, and just for those that may or may not think this is a real thing with accidents, because it's happened with me, it's the lag time where I see the car in front of me pressing the brake, and I'm thinking, what am I supposed to do at nighttime? Because by nighttime, I'm exhausted. There's no way prefrontal cortex is working. And so I avoid nighttime to drive because I know I'm not rational and can be able to pick up on what to do. And when I realized the lag time of pushing the brake with traffic, I said, no, it's time for medication.
It's interesting too, because like it kind of highlights the idea that ADHD shows up differently for everyone. For me, I ride a motorcycle, right? It's kind of my happy place.
I love it.
And in whether I'm on a motorcycle or I'm driving, my brain is it's like always in constant scanning mode. So for me, it's probably one of the few things I could actually do unmedicated. Not that I do that, just yesterday, I was coming back from an appointment, and there was an accident right in front of me, and I was able to do an emergency maneuver, get around this accident. That was just like, I don't know, 20 feet from, it was a very close call. I had to kind of swerve off the road, and my brain just kind of clicks into gear and knows exactly what to do and can stay calm in those kinds of moments. Yeah. And that's the thing. When I used to work in residential treatment where we're often dealing with crisis, and I was great dealing with the crisis. I can, delegate stuff, direct people to do different things. It was when I had to sit down and do the damn paperwork afterwards to write about what happened. That was my nightmare for me. Oh my gosh. I can deal with kids throwing punches at me, but don't make me do paperwork, please.
That makes sense. My graduate education, the top head of the counselor, she's like, you're gonna be a great counselor, Anita, but your paperwork is horrible. And it just didn't click. That makes sense. I hated it.
I have to say that I have an allergy to paperwork. I break out in piles and procrastinations. What happens when you get two ADHDers in a conversation together?
No kidding. I know. And my brain is like, oh, I could say this and this. Okay, no, focus. So I tell myself.
So you were saying that you were diagnosed with ADHD in November. I got my ADHD diagnosis when I was 19 in college after I almost failed out of school. And I was always a very, very average student at best, because I really didn't know how to study. And a lot of the stuff I wasn't interested in. But once I got that diagnosis and started taking medication for it, it was just like, oh my gosh. I often describe it like, that opening scene to The Simpsons with the clouds clear and
Yes.
heavenly, like angels
Yes.
singing.
Yes.
Like, that's what it was like. I was like, wait, is this how other people experience the world? Like all of a sudden,
Yes.
all the chatter in my head just was quiet. And I still remember that first time I took Adderall, sitting and reading this book called Crested Kimono. It was about I was for one of my sociology classes. And I was reading this book and I got to the end of this chapter and I literally just I started crying because I knew what I had just read. Like my experience of reading prior to that point was not even reading words, but within the first paragraph or two, what I read was triggering another thought. And then that thought triggered another thought. Now I'm thinking about all these thoughts while reading words, but I'm not processing anything that I'm reading. Right. So I'm like, wait, what just happened? The number of times I would have to go back and reread, it was just painful.
Yeah.
And so that moment of that first time and with taking medication, it was like, oh my God, I often describe my life as there's before that moment and after that moment.
Yes. What about pain? Because neuropathy is also attributed to ADHD. Did you notice any differences with taking medication and pain for you?
I don't know with pain. I know I often will describe myself as a big man baby when I'm sick because when I don't feel good, it's all my brain focuses on. It's whatever I'm not feeling good around. I sometimes will do skin picking if I have something on me. I can't my brain can't filter that very well.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. No,
So
that's crazy because when I took the meds the first day, I run marathons, so I feel nothing. My sensories is numb.
wow.
So, but my hips, I couldn't even sit longer than 30 minutes. Taking the medication, I remember the second day going, I've been here for about an hour and a half, 2-3 patients, after, and it wasn't hurting. And I was just crying like, oh my gosh, was this all in my head? The processing. That's what my psychiatrist said. She said that because touch, taste, sight, sound, smell is our nervous system, the way our ADHD, it's like an attention distortion disorder, as Barkley calls it, Dr. Russell Barkley. And I guess there was a distortion in my pain levels that when I take the medication, it hurts less.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Well, there's also our vestibular system, which because people talk about the 5 senses, there's actually 8 senses.
No.
There's proprioception.
There we go.
So vestibular, think about you wear a life vest to
Okay.
get for a boat, and our vestibular system is about our balance.
Okay.
Right?
Oh, okay.
Right. So that's a lot of people with ADHD can be very clumsy. They can bump into walls, bump into things. They don't know where their body ends. Right. Then we have Then we have our proprioception, and that is how our muscles and joints work together. Knowing how much pressure to apply to an object to open a door or to lift something.
To lift
right?
weights?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
and proprioception, interestingly, is one of the only senses that there's really no downside to overdoing other than just you're tired.
would
right?
that be like burnout, maybe?
No, so it's more of you can exhaust your muscles, but with other senses, you can overstimulate them, right?
Oh, got it. Got
Right.
it.
Then the other the 8th sense is our interoception. So how we feel stuff on our organs, our digestive system, and I have a really sensitive, I feel everything on the inside.
Yeah, neurodivergent people have gut issues to
I have
begin
such gut
with.
issues.
Horrible, horrible.
My son is always you take too long in the bathroom, Dad. I'm like, oh, leave me alone.
I live with Pepsid AC and gas pills, and my husband's like, you're no good at traveling, but I still want to travel. I don't care. Yes.
And I have some food sensitivities. I'm lactose intolerant. I can't have stuff with corn in it when everything has corn in it. So I'm a real treat to go to a restaurant.
Oh, yeah. We just don't because, okay, what is there? Salad with lemon and salt.
I eat salad every day. I have a pretty routine on my food, which is I've learned is actually part of autism. And that's going to the next.
Yeah.
My specialty clinically started 15 years ago is ADHD and autism.
Mm-hmm.
And I always sort of connected with certain traits of autism, but I'm like, I don't have autism. So I thought until literally this year when I got diagnosed. And so my son, who's also neurodivergent, has ADHD and autism. It's interesting because I think the more of what clinically we call it level 1, sort of low support need autism, right? It, people used to say high functioning, low functioning. That's kind of going away as far as, it's kind of, I don't know, it's not the nicest. But so part of what was coming up for me was like I was having some challenges with personal and professional relationships. And it was interesting because I always felt that I was really good at reading people, and I am good at reading people. But there's this one nuance there. It's reading people how they're reading me and how I'm coming off to people. And I realized over the last couple of years, I'm like, oh, that's been a big blind spot of mine. And so it's like there was a year, about a couple of years ago, where there was like 3 or 4 professional relationships that people I was kind of close with that kind of soured. And I was like, okay, like I'm a pattern seer. I've always been a pattern seer.
Me
And I
too.
know the variable's me, right? Like, what is going on? And so in that time as well, I also started doing EMDR for complex PTSD. I had a narcissistic mother, borderline mother, so like lots of complex PTSD stuff there. And it was through this therapy that kind of, like any kind of growth work. It's like peeling that onion. You keep getting deeper and deeper. And it had been a question like, there's been these things that were happening over time where I had a bunch of people in one of my coaching groups, or several of my coaching groups, that were ADHDers.
Okay.
Right. And there were things, I had one group in particular, I think there were like 4 or 5 ADHDers in one group. And so much of the stuff that they were talking about, I'm like, that's super relatable. That's more relatable than, so I kept like looking like, And then last year I was at the ADHD conference that I speak at every year. And I was hanging out with other ADHDers. And like, there's this like connection feeling when you're ADHD with other ADHDers, you're just like, these are my people, right? Yeah. And then it was when I was hanging out with these ADHDers, like it was even deeper than that. It was like, because what happened to me at these conferences is by the end of the conference, I was almost non-functional.
No.
I was so overstimulated, and like my EF was my executive function.
Yeah.
Planning, organizing, task initiation, like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like I was not functional. Sometimes I had needed help to actually get out to my room and pack because my brain couldn't do it. And as I'm like putting all these things together, and I would often say things like, it's weird that no one talks about the sensory issues that people with ADHD have.
Yeah. Yep.
There might be a reason, because it might not be ADHD. Because we know that sensory issues are a big part of autism.
I had no idea. I thought it was part of ADHD. I mean, sensory processing.
Right, but if you look at the DSM, that's not mentioned in there at all. But neither is emotional self-regulation, which has always been an issue of ADHD, which is also not in the DSM. But do you know that it used to be? That emotional self-regulation used to be in the DSM.
But it's not there anymore.
You know why?
Why?
Because in the 60s, the behavioral sciences were trying to sort of get credibility for being a real science. And emotion's hard to measure.
Yes.
So let's get rid of that factor. And then that's literally why it has been removed from the DSM.
But that's like one of the main, behavioral symptoms, because it takes a while to go bottom up from, point A to point C of rationalizing. That's how, for me, I kind of knew, because in Spanish, they call it no entiende razones. She just doesn't understand rationality. And my firstborn was like, boom, 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 no issues. My second one, she didn't want to be hugged. And I knew there was something. And at the moment, she has an ADHD label, but I'm monitoring every couple of years. And they said it was the moral reflex that wasn't developed. So we were doing, therapy for that. And it did get better for that. It did get better. And she's finally able to give me like the cheek where I can, because she's seeing my other 2 girls. But to say that she's lovey-dovey, like, no. Yeah.
And I used to work with a lot of kids like that. And I feel like extremely fortunate that my son, who is also autistic, is extremely affectionate. He's also an attention seeker. And so he's always like, kind of all over him. He loves big tight squeezes.
So
and
lucky. I had to work with that. Like, I had to really talk to my husband because I'm like, like your son. I love it. I hugging and hand holding, even with my 16-year-old and my baby, the little one, because she's neurodivergent and she's all love and hugs. And I finally found a balance to be able to show love and affection and accept her
Mm.
way of not, being so touchy. So it's
Yeah.
growth process. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and it's interesting too because I have auditory processing disorder, so like my brain turns up the volume on every sound in the environment. Like it does not filter at all. Like it's really frustrating sometimes. And my son, he does a lot of they call it stemming, that self-stimulatory type of stuff you see with autism, and he is hyperverbal, making like saying stuff, noises, talking nonsense from the moment he wakes up to the moment he goes, like he will monologue, like, and sometimes I just get really overwhelmed by it. It's one of the areas where we sometimes kind of butt heads a little bit because it's hard. And we have lots of conversations about it because I'm really being mindful to not shame him about it. I'm like, and say like, I know you need to do this for your own regulation. It's like, for my regulation, like it's kind of like oil and water in this way. So how can you get your needs met to get this verbal kind of stuff out? But when I'm communicating to you that I'm feeling overwhelmed right now, like you need to can you monologue in your room? Right. I mean, I've done stuff where I've literally, I tell them like, you can monologue or you can do I'm going to put on my noise canceling headphones though.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Yes.
Which has been huge. Like it's been a huge help.
You just described my younger two kids. She's very verbal and very anything with her mouth. The little one, noisy, and the second one, who's got the sensory issues, she can't with the noise. So we got her loop noise. It's like the little buds that go in the air.
I tried them, and a lot of people
Really?
love them.
Yeah.
It doesn't do much for me.
But maybe because you're more sensitive with the sensory.
Maybe.
And I'm not. And so for me, I love it. And for her, if she goes to the store or anything, she'll plug it in and she's good. She'll zone out my little one. But, going into the masking, if it's okay to go. Okay. So
It's your show. You can do whatever you want.
I share a story, and it reminded me of you when you mentioned, because you're one of the first that mentioned the ADHD. I remember being at a workout with my friend, and, she tells me jokes. I work out at 5 a.m, and I would laugh, whatever, right? Well, one time she looked at me and she goes, "No, I'm telling you this joke again because I know you're laughing, but I know you don't get it. And you're just laughing just because." And I was just like, what? Okay, is this my people pleasing? But no, I was masking because I have a hard time with jokes, like deciphering this and that and the puns. And so I just go, ha, because I don't want to be embarrassed that I didn't get the joke. And it just really hit close to me like, oh my God, I'm masking. And I had no idea. And so, I want you to tell the audience here, what is masking?
So masking is anything, in a sense, it's a often subconscious behavior where we are basically trying to be what we think is presentable for a group, right? It's like we're putting on the mask so people will like us, or they won't think we're like a big weirdo. And it's so interesting, one of the things that I've been discovering over the last year, because like about a year or so ago, I was really, really, really burnt out. And that was also one of the things that sort of led me to the diagnosis as well, was this realization that I had been masking like a bunch of different things and I didn't even realize it.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I'm like, one of the parts was like, I wanted to like grow this really big bit like organization. And like, and I have these team meetings and like my brain would like kind of hurt by the end of these meetings. Like, I didn't know what was happening. And like, and I felt bad for my team because like I wasn't communicating effectively. And like, I would get to this place in a meeting where I was just like, I don't even know what's happening right now. Right. And it was just, and it was kind of like, pretending like I did, like, and when I'm interested in something, this is my therapist tells me this is a very autistic trait. So if you look at my Audible library, so I listen to books, you can kind of go by year on what topic I was interested in. right?
Okay.
And there was about a 2.5, 3 year period where I was always looking for on leadership, management, all this stuff. And I'm just like, why am I not, it's not connecting. Like all these other books that I've read, like I can integrate and I
Yeah.
like, this isn't, things are not connecting for me. And, that's sort of led to that. So, one of the things that I realize is like, like, oh, maybe I'm feeling emotion coming up right now. So I'm just kind of getting in my
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
It's interesting because like I like working with people when I am sort of in that role of the expert. Like when it is a just hanging with people just to hang with people, to me that's often exhausting. Like unless they're like neurodivergent weirdos like me, then I'm totally cool. Like
Yeah.
and and there's actually this thing called the double empathy problem with autism, where
Okay.
it's like neurodivergent people and autistic people have a hard time connecting, but on the same time, if you put autistic people together, you don't have the same issue.
Really?
Part of the reason is because you don't have to wear a mask.
Mm.
You
That's
can
so
just be your complete self, right?
and wow.
And I think that just the like, and it's challenging because on one hand, like my business is I do groups, right? And it's and it's weird because it's like, why is it that I can do groups and lead group sessions and do a great job with that and it actually energizes me, but then I have team meetings and it's a totally like because like we're collaborating in a team meeting, we're coming up with ideas and having to make decisions in a team meeting,
Yeah.
right? And it's like it's a different skill set and it's a different area of our brain because like I know kind of the different pathways that things in a group can go, or if even things in a coaching or a therapy environment can go.
Yeah.
But when it's just this collaborative process, like that's been something that's been really challenging for me. And I'm a big person that always seeks feedback because
Yeah.
like, and I think since I got my ADHD diagnosis and sort of understood this idea of blind spots and how we increase our self-awareness, I've always been very like interested in like, all right, where are my blind spots? I want to
Yeah.
uncover more of them. And like, and those people who think they don't have blind spots are the ones that have the biggest ones, right?
Wow. Do the Johari
And
window.
no,
Yeah.
it's exactly right. The Johari's window. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one of the pieces of feedback that I had gotten is that I gotten some feedback from some colleagues that they felt like I was only reaching out when I wanted something. But it's that reciprocity piece where it's like for me,
Yeah.
I've and it's been a really hard thing because it's a trait that like I don't like this about myself. It's where it feels like it's a to maintain connection with people feels like a task. Right?
Yes.
Other people,
Yes.
it's like they do because they find it rewarding and I find it fulfilling. And it's like, and I don't have a lot of that. And it's kind of sucks. And it's maybe I just don't have the right friends. I don't know, but
Isn't that? It's
but it is,
hard.
and this I'm a big believer in like talking about the stuff that's hard to talk about to
Yes.
normalize it because
Yes.
like no matter what the issue is, it's the not when you don't hear anybody else talking about these things,
Yeah.
that just makes people feel more shame about what they're experiencing.
Yes.
And when like you and I can have a conversation about this, it's like, wait, you're saying that reaching out to me is a task? It's like, yeah, it does. Like, and I understand the value of it, right? But it's like like the idea of having to make a phone call like that, like I put that off like so much. Like I gotta reach out to someone. Like I will often have to put reminders on my calendar to reach out to people.
Oh my God, you sound like me. That's why I did away with social media. And I'm like, oh, I have to do social media for work. I actually have to connect with people. And in the holidays, I told my friend, I was like, oh, I hate people. And she laughs. She's like, I need that. Like your counselor, it's different when it's one-on-one,
Well,
And
and it's even
yeah.
different from me in group. Like, I love presenting,
Yeah.
because it's in a sense, it's kind of a one-way conversation, but I'm also getting the energy from the audience,
Yeah.
right, as well.
Yeah.
Um,
I totally
yeah,
get it. And I make, you know what? This is with my friends. Oh, I say, if you know me, if you know that we don't have to talk so long, but then we do talk every now and then, that's just who I am. It's not that I don't love you or care for you. It's just,
exactly. Yeah.
and so I've learned to just take in people who accept me because this is, I don't know, because I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it, being bullied since I was a little girl, because of course my mom wouldn't take care of me. So it was dirty, unkept, whatever. But then the relational issues, I didn't know how to make friends. I don't know what with what. And then the fact that they had the audacity to try to tell me how to behave. Oh, you're not doing the right thing. That was not what you're supposed to say. And how dare you this? And oh, you're arrogant. Because I would just like, no, I don't like this. And I was like, is there something wrong with me? That's like the comment I hear with neurodivergent people.
Wow. That question, I'm physiologically, that just like I'm having an effect from that question.
Yeah.
That was a question that I was asked thousands of times growing up. And that's like, I'm actually working on that right now in EMDR. And that what is wrong with you? It is one of the most hurtful questions that we ask.
Yes. And then for me, it's when they took advantage of my naiveness, because one of the things is I'm so literal. And so when they say something, I would believe it, and they'd, laugh thinking, oh, she's just naive. But now looking back, I'm like, no, I'm neurodivergent and it's not funny. And so I've learned to let go of certain friend groups that don't see my quirks as me. And I'd rather be alone, because I'm good with being alone. But that's why I put myself out there. I'll go to like dancing stuff, or, the gym. I really only go to the gym to meet people, like my group at the 5 a.m. because this is what I tell them, because they're all neurodivergent. You have to be neurodivergent to wake up so early and do all of this. And I go, look, you know that we don't want to wake up early in the morning and work out. We need our dopamine fix. We don't sleep well. And so when we work out, good for you for reaching out to a person, because it takes you double the work than a regular neurotypical. So appreciate that this neurodivergent texted you, because I didn't have to. So you made more of an effort than a neurotypical would. So that's how I see it.
It's so true. Yeah, it's so true. It's why I love going to the ADHD conferences, because it's just like you get to be with all these people where it's like you just almost feel compelled to naturally unmask. And
Yes.
unmasking it's so important. I have this little thing in my kitchen. It's like one of these little signs, the wood frame. It says, masquerading as normal day after day is exhausting.
It is. It is. I remember breaking down with my husband one time, and I don't know how many years we were married, and it's hard to get it together when you're married and have everything. And I think after my second child, she was neurodivergent, and so it was something else. And he's like, what's going on? And I just couldn't. I blew up, started bawling, and I was just like, it's this and this and this. I'm so scared that you're going to see me. And he's like, what are you talking about? I know all your quirks. I know all this, and I'm still here, and I will always be here. I may not like it, but I know it's a part of you. It comes with the whole thing. And so after that moment, I now verbally will be like, yeah, it's a thing. What isn't a thing for you? I'm like, I'll let you know. And
it is helpful to be able to understand the function of our behaviors, right? Because it's not that and I think this is an important distinction, because I think sometimes we'll hear people say, oh, you're using it as an excuse. It's like, no. Like there's still accountability for our actions or inactions, right? But like when you understand it, like there's just a different kind of level of empathy that can be sort of applied towards that.
Yeah.
Like my partner a while back, she needed me to take her to the hospital, and I kind of froze, and like I was super tired, and I was like busy working on a presentation, and my son was already sleeping, and I kind of didn't know what to do. And like this was like it's created a big rift in our relationship for a while, because she was like, Maggie was like, how on you, right? And I was just kind of explaining, like my brain literally just locked, like. And then it was interesting, so like almost a year later, it was on Valentine's Day, and we were putting together this Lego set that said love, right? I don't know if you've ever seen this Lego set. Right, so
my husband loves Lego sets.
So we're like 90% done with this thing. There's a missing piece. I kind of couldn't handle it. Like I got so flustered and aggravated, and like where I wasn't talking. I was like, I can't, like, and it was what was interesting. She was like, after that, she's like, I'm so sorry you went through that, but it was actually really good for me to see that it wasn't just an issue with me, like, but it was like, this is kind of what can happen sometimes, right? It's like that completion thing that very much part of autism.
Oh my God, I'm gonna show this part to my husband because when he asks me to look for something and I don't know, I can't find it because I normally know where everything is in the house. He goes, "Oh my God, I regret telling you. You are gonna turn the whole house upside down until you find that thing." And I'm like, "Leave me alone. I have a goal and I will literally turn everything until I exhaust myself, burn out, or find it." Ah,
Do you have the experience? I call it interblindness. It's just a word I came up with.
okay.
When you're looking for something, you're actually looking at the object that you're looking for, but your brain is not registering that you're seeing it.
Yeah.
Do you have that happen to you?
Yeah. And you know, some people call it man vision.
Hey now. To be fair, but hey now.
But no, let's keep it gender neutral here. It really depends. I'm really good at finding stuff. That's just who it is with me. Rarely do I not find it. I know my little one, but she's visually impaired. But no, rarely. Once in a blue moon, yes, because I'll be like, where is it? Where is it? And then I'll forget about it. Once my body's calm and regulated, I'm like, oh, there it was. So I do get that once in a while for the most part. And I just have to regulate my emotions so my senses could go back in place.
Do you have challenge with clutter? Because I do.
Yeah, organization. I've learned to be compassionate
Yeah.
with my way of post-it notes and notes everywhere, you know, and that's how I have my planner, my top, 3 and whatnot.
Nice.
And I have because, oh my God, I remembered this, but I don't want to forget this, and I'll put it in my priority box. So I have all these little post-it notes. And when I have a free time, I'll look at it. But if not, that's how I calm my nervous system, because if not, I'd be so dysregulated. You've taught me so much, and we haven't even entered people pleasing at all.
Okay, so masking and people pleasing.
Yeah. So when my friend was telling me about the jokes, I had to decipher, is this people pleasing or is this masking? And one of the common things was people pleasing is a survival mechanism in your nervous system: fight, flight, freeze, people please and appease. And when they feel like they're being bullied and want to make friends with the perpetrator so that we don't get hurt. And I get that. But then, there's an overlap with people pleasing and masking. What have you encountered, or what are your thoughts on that overlap?
I'm gonna kind of just verbally process on this a little bit, because I think that it's a Venn diagram that's almost a circle.
Okay.
I agree with you on the people pleasing part, that it's often a survival mechanism. I think that the masking can have a both sort of a conscious level and unconscious level of masking.
Okay.
Because it really does come down to like the desire to be accepted and to belong, right? I mean, that's, even as AuDHDers, like, we still want to belong, right?
Yeah, definitely. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's a need, not a want to belong.
Absolutely.
Yeah, even studies with plants. When you talk to one plant and you let the other one not talk to them, but they just leave it there, they die. So it's been proven with the whole belonging.
One example of masking I can think of that's maybe different from, that's not a people pleasing one,
Okay.
is, so when I was a kid, I used to do this kind of thing where it was kind of basically flapping my hands and like swinging my arms like across my body, like sort of twisting my body with like limp arms, so my arms would like go back and forth across my body.
Yeah.
And my sisters would tease me for it, and so I had suppressed doing that. And I think it was last summer, I was at a Fish concert, and I was dancing, and I was noticing there's a lot of hand flapping in my dancing. And I had this and I had already been in EMDR for like a year, and I had this memory of my sisters teasing me about this. And I kind of realized, that was masking, right? Like I had suppressed that because I got a negative response to that. And so part of the process for me of taking off the mask is like, when I feel like doing that, I just do it now.
Oh, I love that. And so maybe what I'm hearing is whether it's people pleasing or masking, at the end of the day, it's a system dysregulation. And so it's just kind of getting to know your body and working with calming the system so you could be able to process a little bit more effectively.
It's a good question though. One that I think I actually want to give more thought to.
Yeah, definitely. We're gonna finish with part 1 here because we've had such amazing conversations. And I do want my audience to know more about people pleasing and appeasing. But I do want to end first with connecting with you. So where can people find you?
Best place is at my website, ADHDrewired.com. Same app that you're listening to this podcast on. You can also search for ADHD Rewired. I've been podcasting for almost 11 years, and I have a huge backlog of like 550 plus episodes. I have a virtual co-working community called Adult Study Hall. I do an intensive coaching and accountability group for adults with ADHD. But all of that could be found at my website at ADHDrewired.com.
I love that. And then your coaching groups and your study hall groups. Can you tell me how accountability for neurodivergents help them succeed in life?
You know, ADHD is often referred to as the disorder of good intentions, right? Like we often know what we need to do. It's the doing it. You know, it's a performance challenge, right? So accountability really is that bridge from intention to action, especially if it's stuff that maybe you're not super interested in, or if you have a tendency, which is a very ADHD tendency, to do like 85 to 90% of something and then want to move on and not finish stuff.
Yeah.
So things like, and accountability in this context is where it's not like no one's making you do anything. It is literally you are sharing what your intention is. And then we're going to ask you to give us an update. That's it. Like, and if you didn't do it, like to be able to communicate your understanding of like what happened, right? It's no judgment in it. Like sometimes not doing a thing was a smart thing to do. Sometimes it was because you're maybe numbing or avoiding, or you didn't realize actually what the first step was, or you're overwhelmed, or you're not sleeping well. Like, so we really explore all these different things, like why, like what's happening where our intentions aren't meeting the action. So it's really, we call it compassionate ass kicking.
Oh, I love that. I'm going to use that word, compassionate.
Right? It starts with compassion, but we're going to hold your feet to the fire. Like you could say, "Nah, I changed my mind. I don't want to do this." That's totally fine. But like you have to verbalize why.
Yes. Oh, I love that.
So that's huge. Yeah, the accountability piece. And it's funny too, because I also have a little bit of that PDD or that PDA, the pathological demand avoidance. And so like for me, I have such a love-hate relationship with accountability. Like it's so helpful. And sometimes I so don't want to do that. And so that's also something we explore too, is like, all right, like let's explore that resistance. Like what's going on with that, right?
Yeah, definitely.
It's all about the curious why, right? Like stuff.
Oh yeah, I love that. Start with the why. I love that with Simon Sinek with his book. Before we end, I know since it's going to be a 2-part, I normally do 2 questions. So this time I'm just going to break it up. 1 question this episode, 1 question next. Yeah.
All right. Look at us being flexible here.
I know, you have no idea. 2 neurodivergence. My limit is 2 changes. And then after that, I need to go to bed and shut down and take a cold shower. What is your definition of an empowered woman?
Someone who puts their intentions into action.
I love that. Yes, instead of people pleasing, putting other people's intentions into yours, you put yours into action.
Doing what you want, how you want, when you want. I mean, that's feminism. And I'm a feminist. It's it's not just about like how you look. It's how you show up.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, I love that. Compassionate ass kicking. I love it. Thank you so much, Eric. That was incredible. Oh my gosh, I enjoyed all this episode. And I'm really grateful for your time and how open and generous you've been with your insight. And for those of you that are listening, I'll go ahead and put the notes and links that Mr. Eric Tivers here shared. And until next time, keep showing up, keep unmasking, and keep walking toward that version of you until that feels most authentic and empowered.
Thanks for listening to Empowering Women in Conversations. This conversation has ended, but your journey to empowerment continues. Please share with someone you know who will find this conversation helpful and inspiring. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Until our next empowered conversation with your host, licensed professional counselor, Anita Sandoval. And remember, we are brave. We are strong. We are compassionate. We are women empowered. Go out there and claim your power.